Okay, so hi Rohan. Thank you so much for taking time out of your packed schedule. I know you are even in Mexico now screening your new film, which has been really winning
Yes,
a lot of accolades all over the world. So,
thank you.
congratulations. And thank you so much for
Thank
taking
you so
time out to connect with us. So, Rohan,
Thank you.
before we start the conversation, let me just quickly introduce you to our viewers, right?
Okay.
Right? So,
Okay,
although
sure.
we don't
Yeah.
have them online now, we are going to be uploading it on YouTube on our channel.
Right.
Um,
Right. Okay.
so, for our viewers, Rohan is a self-made filmmaker raised in Mumbai, right? And he
Yes.
transitioned from being an interior designer to being a filmmaker. That's quite a leap,
Yeah.
His short films included films like Khidki, Sundar, among others. But the film that has been really having the critics sitting up and taking notice of Rohan is his feature film, debut feature film, in fact, Sabar Bonda, right? Cactus
Yeah.
Pears. And it has won
Yeah.
him the Sundance Award and the Popular Choice Award at IFFLA. It's also given you an honorable mention for one of your actors, right?
Yes. And we recently also won audience choice at Inside Out in Toronto,
Oh,
and even there, the lead actor won the performance award.
oh, wonderful.
At IFLA, both the actor got the special mention for their performance,
Oh, wonderful.
and at Inside Out, the main lead got it. And last week, we also won the inaugural South by Southwest London edition. We won the best feature film even there.
Wow, wonderful. Congratulations. How does it feel to be
Thank you.
receiving so much of critical acclaim? Good?
I mean, yeah, it's great to know that film is resonating with people, but
Right.
most important is that all of this recognition is just mainly allowing us to film to get distributed, and there are
Right.
distribution who was interested to bring the film into
Right.
front of the audience. That is most important right now,
Yes,
because we
absolutely.
really want the regular audience to
Right.
go to the cinema and watch the film. So these things are now happening. I'm more happy about that.
Yeah. So it makes you, feel validated about your film and the theme that you picked up. So that must be a good feeling, right? Although maybe a
And
feeling
also,
might feel a little pressure also, no? A sense of
yeah,
pressure
that is
maybe
always
at
there.
times, huh?
Yeah, that is always there. But the thing is, we are winning audience choice awards at the
Yes,
festival,
yes,
and
absolutely.
audience is recognizing this.
Yes,
That means it just proves that audience really wants to see
yes,
good cinema and even films like this, which
yes,
is not
absolutely.
your mainstream popular kind of a
Yeah,
film, but
yeah,
audience is
yeah.
interested in watching this.
I
I
mean,
mean, we are getting so many even reviews on Letterboxd, and
uh,
people really writing that whenever this releases in the cinema, I'm going to watch it again. So that is something I'm really happy about.
yes. I mean, they say audience is king. It's a cliche, but it's actually very true, because if
Yeah,
it's
but people
resonating,
were saying,
yes, yes,
res-
absolutely,
people were telling us that no one is going to watch this film, and
absolutely.
that's why no one was giving the finance. But opposite is happening right now, that people
Yes.
are actually, I see the line outside the theaters.
Ah,
Even during the sold out shows, people stand in the standby queue as well. So it's
wonderful.
what people who used to say, finances used to say, it's opposite right now.
Yeah. Chalo, that's really good. So, Rohan, let's talk about your film. Now,
Okay.
Cactus Spears, it walks a fine balance, between fiction and autobiography. It unfolds in
Hmm.
your ancestral home, right? And you use local actors, and of course, it's a deeply personal narrative. So, tell us what were the experiences that shaped the core of your film, and sort of where did you draw the line between an autobiography and fiction? Because it seamlessly melds the both, the autobiographical part as well as the fiction part. So tell us a little
Yeah.
about that.
So um it's more, fiction. The film is more fiction. Like,
Okay.
when we started saying autobiographical, or more, not autobiographical,
Mm,
sorry,
mm,
but a story that is inspired by my experiences, and those experiences just, made me explore this
mm.
and slightly add the,
Ah,
fiction to it, so I can change what was happening in reality, and
right.
make it a completely different journey, at least for
Yeah,
the central character in the film. So,
right.
the things that really inspired me to write this was, first was, of course, the grieving experience. When
Right.
my father passed away in 2016, I had to go to my ancestral village. I mean,
Right.
I'm born and raised in Mumbai. Even
Okay.
my dad was raised in Mumbai. So,
Okay.
but all our relatives stay there. So, during the summer vacation, we used to always go there and meet
Ah,
everyone and come
okay.
back before the school started.
Okay.
But after my 10th standard, I stopped going to the village, because even then some of the relatives used to talk about my marriage, like, oh,
Ah,
in next 2 3 years he has to get married, he has to get married.
ah,
And I was quite uncomfortable with those conversation. I was too young. I mean, I had just finished my 10th standard, so I
right.
didn't want to get into those conversations.
Ah,
So I just stopped going to the villages.
ah,
So it was almost for a decade that I did not go to the village. And but when my father passed away,
okay.
my mom decided that we should go there, so that everyone will be part of the ceremonies.
Right.
And I had no escape, and I had to go.
Had to
And I
go.
was 30 then,
Ah,
and everyone just started talking about my marriage.
yes.
Like, when are you going to get married? Why are you not married? And this and that.
Ah,
And it was so claustrophobic, because every time I was just thinking about how, who's gonna come next, and again gonna ask me this question.
ah,
And because of this, I was not really able to grieve my loss. I had lost my father, and the more than that, I was just thinking about all these things,
yeah.
because these questions are most of the time uncomfortable. And why only for me? I
Right.
know so many women, like even heterosexual women,
Ah,
who like work in cities, and
right.
they don't want to go to the villages, because when they go to the villages, people only talk about their marriages, and they
Right.
are like, we want to
Right.
do something in our life. This is
Yes.
not really important thing for us, but people always ask about that question. So
Ah,
these are really uncomfortable questions.
yes.
And
Yes.
I even though I was out to my father and mother even before I went to the village for the grieving
Right.
period,
Right.
the rest of the family didn't know. And
Ah,
this is what it is. For me, it was important that my parents knew about my sexuality.
right.
And for me, my sexuality is not my identity. It's just a
Right.
part of my life.
Yes.
And I don't think sexuality can be anyone's identity. If someone asks me, what do you know about me, I will not say I'm
Ah,
queer or anything. I will always say I'm a filmmaker. So,
hmm.
and because of that, I didn't want acceptance from anyone else or from by the society. So,
Right.
these were not my, these were not important things for me.
Right.
So, when I was there, I had to just face that question. And at point, it was quite triggering,
Hmm.
but I had to be just quiet, because I knew if I just come out,
Hmm.
because of that anger, it
Hmm.
might, I don't know what will happen. And I didn't want to stir the situation at that time. Also, because I am not really connected with my relatives, but my mother is.
Hmm.
And at that moment, when
Had to
she
keep
also lost
that
her
intact.
husband, she needed, yeah, and she needed people,
Ah,
around. And I just didn't want to ruin that connection for her. So I had to
yes.
just keep quiet,
Yes.
endure the pressure, and come back. And during that time, I had this thought, what if I had a friend over here? I would have just sneaked out for a while
Ah,
and stayed away from this pressure.
right.
And suddenly I felt out that's an interesting idea for a feature film.
Oh,
And I can actually use it to, change the the journey for the character in the film,
right.
which
Right.
can be more tender
Ah,
and warm, during
yes.
this time, because we are so vulnerable during that time. And when these things are
Absolutely.
happening, this pressure, we
Right.
are looking for some outlet to,
Yes.
so I
A
thought this
refuge.
another friend,
Ah,
this another friend can be there for this
right.
character. And this journey can become
Ah,
more tender, and maybe some bond can form during
yes.
this
Yes.
this journey. And
Ah,
I found that very interesting, because then I started thinking, this idea will actually allow me to incorporate so many of my experiences plus
Yes.
experiences of people around me that I
Right.
know. So one
Right.
of the things was that I wanted to incorporate that the parents knew about this character's sexuality.
Mm.
Usually we have, when people think about queer films, it's always about acceptance,
Yes.
which I was just talking about,
Right.
and the films are about struggle of acceptance,
Ah,
and in the end either they will accept or they will not accept. Films are always about that. But when
yes.
I came out to my parents,
Ah,
and because of this kind of films, these kinds of stories that I saw all the time,
yes.
I also had the baggage, and I was so scared when I wanted to come out, because my dad was a driver. He couldn't even finish his school. My mom is illiterate. She can't even read or write. She can only write her name because my father taught her how to write her name after her marriage, so she uses as her signature. So
Okay.
I used to think that, oh, they are not going to understand all of
Ah,
this, and I used to imagine so many bad scenes in my head that if I
yes.
come out, they'll throw me out of the house.
Yes.
So many bad things. But when I came out, and my father actually urged me,
Ah,
there something had happened, and I was very, very sad. And my father noticed it, and he urged me to speak. And
ah,
I said, you won't understand. And he said,
ah,
but until and unless you share what is happening,
yeah.
how will I know and how will I even know if I can help you or no?
Ah,
So whenever you feel comfortable, you please share.
right, right.
And that's when I came out, and he immediately said that, it's okay. I mean, if you know about yourself, that's most important.
Yes,
And
yes.
don't get married. It's a big good thing
Ah,
actually that you shared this,
ah,
and don't worry about this.
ah,
And that's when I asked him, but all these village relatives, they keep asking you about my
mm,
marriage, because my dad used to go to the village every weekend because he used to get off, and he used to just run to the village to meet all
ah,
the relatives.
ah,
And that is why they used to keep asking him,
ah,
when is he going to get married? He's so old already.
ah,
He's almost like reaching 30. And that's when that's when I asked my father, they keep asking you, what are you going to
say
say?
to them.
And
Ah,
he said that, I will just tell them that, oh, he had someone, he had some girlfriend, and she
ah,
broke his heart and married
ah,
someone else. I'll just tell them something like that. And I was like, okay. And so, when I experienced this, was so different than what I had heard and what I had seen,
the
in
stereotypes in
movies.
your head,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And I thought this was so simple. Why was I so scared all the time?
Ah,
And this made me realize that I could experience this is because my parents love me,
yes,
and
absolutely.
because of that love, they
Absolutely.
just accepted me. They
Ah,
didn't have any problem with my sexuality. They
right.
just wanted my happiness. And
Yes.
most of the time, these are the cases, because I have seen so many of my other friends who came out and their parents accepted them. And
Ah,
that's when I started thinking, why films only portray this? There
yes.
is this other side. I mean, I'm sure there must be struggle for other people
Ah,
also. There
ah,
for some people
yes.
who must be going through,
Yes.
um, um, what do you say? People don't accept them, or
Dilemma
people
or
tease them.
yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, many things happen for
Ah,
some of the people, but
right.
there are other people who experience these things also positivity, and I thought this needs to be portrayed as
Yes.
well. And
Absolutely.
that's why I used my that experience of
Ah,
I mean, I come from lower economical
ah,
strata of the
right.
society where
Right.
my dad was driver. We
Ah,
literally I was raised in
ah,
a house as big as your bedroom, maybe. It's
ah,
just that one room house where
yes.
we had a bathroom, we had a small kitchen, and rest of
Ah,
the area used to be where at night we used to all sleep together. We were
yes.
just four of us.
Yes.
So in that house I grew up.
Right.
And but the positivity and the love that I experienced was something that I never saw portrayed on the screen, because
And the
some of my
maturity
rich
with
friends.
which your parents accepted this, because
Exactly.
I feel that education has nothing to do with that sense, a progressive, approach to life.
Exactly.
That's so
Exactly.
critical. Yeah,
And it's just the maturity, sometimes
absolutely.
this wisdom, people just have the in them. They don't have to
Yes,
be educated for that. And
absolutely.
that's what we forget sometimes,
Ah,
everyone is human, everyone is differently wired. Some of the even illiterate people have so much maturity than educated
Yes.
people. Because recently I met someone who's a cinematographer from FTI,
Ah, okay.
and he comes from fairly good family. His
Okay.
dad has done PhD and stuff.
Uh-huh.
He's a
Uh,
very
uh,
educated family. But when he
yes.
came out to them,
Ah,
his parents started taking him to the conversion therapies.
right.
So
Absolutely.
if the
Yes.
educated people are, so we
Doesn't
have
help.
this mindset,
Yes.
and I just wanted to use that to
Yes.
craft my own narrative for this
Right.
film.
Right.
So these things actually made me, this idea I can really
Ah,
take and write something to
right.
change the grieving period, and also some of my own lived in experiences,
Right.
to
Right.
craft something which is
Ah,
really different, and which I felt is important to show.
right.
And then during the grieving period, the customs that I was following,
Ah, the morning rituals.
the
Yes.
grieving customs, yeah, those
That's
were
what
the
I
big
also wanted.
surprise to me as well.
So I also wanted to ask you, Rohan, because you have melded that, grief and love, a budding love, together. It's very difficult to bring both of them together and seamlessly, meld them in such a way that they don't detract from the other, which you have done so beautifully in this.
To
Uh,
be to be to be really honest, I was not even thinking about, oh, this is difficult, how I'm gonna do that or that. For me,
yes,
I don't think about all of these things when
right.
I'm writing, because my writing process is also something that I just start writing. If I'm
Ah,
really passionate, or about some idea, or some idea has really stayed with me for a very long time. In this
right.
case, since 2016 to 2020, when I actually
Ah,
started writing the script, and one day I just started writing, and one scene after another, it
ah,
just gives you, a idea for the next scene, and how the story is going to
how the
travel. Because
story
at the time, most of the time, even I don't know what is the end of the story, because I don't write outline or the background for the character. I
ends.
just start writing the story,
Ah,
because during this, a period where I'm toying with the idea, I
ah,
get some notes in my head. I see
right.
some visuals, so I see
Ah,
some backgrounds in my
ah,
head, visual things
ah,
mainly. I don't write anything.
ah,
Sometimes through conversations, so sometimes conversations with my mom, once she told me that, oh, people in the, one of my cousins finally found, a woman twice his age.
mm-hmm,
I was like, why? What happened? I
mm-hmm,
mean, why he's marrying a woman twice his, and that's when she said that, oh, people are not finding brides in that area, because there is, a skewed sex ratio,
ah,
and because of that, it's become very difficult. The one of the reason is, most of the women are educated, and they don't
right.
want, husbands who are farmers. They want either office going people
Ah,
or someone from the city. So farmers are having a big, tough time finding brides, and
ah,
most of them ends up finding, women twice their age, or women who are already divorced. So
right,
I thought, oh, okay, this is quite interesting, and that's when I got the idea. But I'm sure there are guys who are from, queer community.
right.
For them, this rejection, that might be helping them to just stay unmarried without doing anything. Like, for
Understand.
me, it was such a
Ah,
big pressure, because I come
ah,
from a city. I'm an interior designer. I also
ah,
make films. So for,
right.
people, for my relatives in the village, I am such a, good groom, and
Example
they were
model.
that. Yeah, and I had to face so much pressure. But then I was like, oh, for some of the farmers who are
Ah,
queer, that must be such an ideal
yes, absolutely.
situation, that they don't have to say anything. They don't have to even say no to the marriage.
Ah,
It's the women are saying no to them, and it's I was like, this person must be really happy than heterosexual person.
yes,
And I was like, this is interesting. So I started using all of these things through
right,
conversation, making notes of this.
right.
And one day I just started writing,
Ah,
and it just flows sometimes.
organic, it
uh
is
you know
probably just a
yeah,
spontaneous
yeah, and then
flow. Right.
exactly. And because sometimes I also don't know what is the end, so I'm also curious to find what's
Ah,
what's happening
yes,
next.
yes, absolutely.
But in this case specifically, I knew that this story is not going to end in tragedy.
Ah,
It has to be optimistic end.
positive.
Not,
Positive
Yeah, and not also completely, oh, happily,
ever
happily,
after.
happy, they lived happily ever after. I
Yes.
didn't want to do that. Also, something,
Uh,
something optimistic,
right,
positive. So that I knew, but I didn't know what that would be.
right.
So I had to just, find it through writing
Yeah, yeah,
process. So most of the time, it's just, and I really like this process because, I tried once, writing the outline and background, and when I actually started writing the script, it was
uh,
completely something else. So I
uh,
realized that is not my writing
way
process.
of
I'm
writing.
okay, with my writing process, which is like this. It
Yeah,
takes time for me to start writing. That's why it takes time, because
right.
I don't consider myself a writer first. I consider
Uh,
myself a filmmaker, and just because I have to make
so
my
it
films,
is
I have
the
to write.
frames that come to your mind rather
Yeah.
than,
Exactly,
written word.
exactly. And that's what it is, screenplay is writing the images that I'm seeing in
Yes,
my head, the
absolutely.
images
Absolutely.
that the audience is going to see on the screen, and
Yes.
not like a
The
literature,
visual
I have to
frames,
write the images.
right, absolutely.
Images, even the sound for
Yes.
that matter. As you know, this film doesn't have any background score. It's
Uh,
completely relies on sound design. So all
uh,
the sounds that you hear, I had to incorporate
right,
that as well. So people
right.
who are going to read the script, they not only see the images but also hear what's,
Yes.
the hear
Yes.
the film. So that was important. So I
Right.
had to take this decision even before I started writing, and
Ah,
incorporate all of this during the writing.
great, great. So one more thing, Rohan. What I've seen is this film, it subverts the stereotype of queerness, It is believed that it's an urban phenomenon, but you have, very lyrically and very tenderly depicted a queer love story in rural Maharashtrian setting. So I'm sure you would have faced some challenges, maybe in terms of storytelling, or maybe did you have this sense that people may not respond to it or connect with it? So what were the challenges you really faced, in this?
The only people who did not resonate with the film
Hmm.
were the financiers.
Oh,
And
they were not sure if the
only
money would come
they,
in.
and not only that, that as I was saying before, that they were saying no one's gonna watch this. Who
Uh,
wants to watch film about Indian farmers?
uh,
And film like this, there is no music. There is all. It's going to be still images. I mean,
hmm,
static camera work
hmm, hmm,
and first time actors.
hmm.
Who's gonna watch this?
The first time actors,
So
we'll
and
talk about that as well. Yeah. I mean,
I
non-professional.
wanted first.
Uh,
No, no, they all are professional actors.
okay, the professional
They
actors,
all are
but
professional.
local actors.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but they are trained theater actors, all of them. Even the
Gotcha.
actors who are
Okay.
portraying villagers, they all
Ah,
are theater actors from that
ah,
local areas.
yeah.
So everyone is professional, no one is non-professional.
Ah,
So, but that is what I wanted. I wanted, authenticity in the film, in
right,
terms of how the characters look, how they speak,
right,
their body
right,
language. They
right,
needed to look like these characters are
right,
from that region. They
right.
have been there all their life.
Ah,
That was really
ah,
important for me, and
ah,
that is why I had to pick, actors who can embody that, and only people who could embody that who knew the language. So
yes.
that's why we casted villagers from that region, so I
Ah,
could get the dialect, the
ah.
look, and everything,
So
and also the
credibility,
both the
it
leads.
added credibility to the film. That's
Yeah. So even the character of Baya, who's from the village,
uh,
so he he was born and raised just 20 minutes away from where we shot the film, and I shot the film in my mother's village, and
uh,
he used to live just 20 minutes away from that village.
right, right.
And he studied acting from Lalit Kala Kendra in Pune,
Okay.
and he's been doing theater since then. And actually Anand and Baya, like Bhushan and Suraj, they both are actually friends. They
Uh,
met in that acting school, and since
okay.
they've been friends, they've been working together.
Uh,
And I weirdly had this, not weird, but I had this thought in my head, before casting, that I really wanted actors
right.
to have the similar journey like the characters they are portraying in the film.
Uh,
So I wanted the actor for Baya to, be from that same region. So
uh,
Baya is born and raised in that region. I
right.
wanted Anand, actor for Anand, to really have the similar journey. Like, he should be from that region, but
Uh,
someone who's raised in the city. So
Ah,
Bhushan is from that region, but
ah,
he grew up in Surat. So
ah,
so his overall dressing sense, and the kind of Marathi he speaks is
ah,
more polished, was
mix of
more different. It's
city
more
and
urban.
village. Ah, right, right.
Yeah. For mother, I wanted the similar thing for
Ah,
the actor, that she should be born and raised in the village, but
oh,
she should be someone who migrated to the city only
ah,
after her marriage. And
yes,
that happened with Jayashree ma'am. She was raised in the village. She was working there as a professor
right.
in the college,
Ah, ah,
and then she got married to this Marathi actor Umesh Jagtap, and she came to the city. And
oh,
even she, after coming to the city, she started going to the acting school, and
ah,
since then she started working as an
ah,
actor. So I really, what I had thought initially, I really
ah,
got that, but it took us a long time to
yeah,
find these people.
yeah, yeah.
And this is what I think is important. Sometimes you really need to have patience, and really give time
Ah,
to to all these processes to really
yes,
happen.
yes,
And this you don't get all the time. I've
right.
seen people don't get this kind of time to really work on the films.
Ah,
But when you have some unique vision, you really need to have
yeah,
time. And I'm so happy that my producer let me do all of these things, because we had a very unique vision for this. And because of that vision, everyone was saying that, oh, this film is not gonna work, and no one's gonna watch the film. But I knew the kind of story that I'm telling. I knew that people have not seen this kind of a story,
ah,
and the way I want to tell that story, it's my way of telling the story.
yeah,
Sometimes we go to watch some filmmakers' film is because we know they're gonna have their own point of view or their own way of telling that story,
right,
and that's what we are intrigued to see.
right.
And I knew the way I'm gonna tell story. I'm sure people will watch this because I can see the film in my head, and
Ah,
that is why it becomes very difficult for sometimes to tell people that this will work, because
mm,
sometimes they can't really understand the
yeah,
kind of film I'm seeing in my head,
yeah,
even though I did my whole storyboard. So the film
ah,
that you see on the screen, I
right.
drew the whole film. So 90% film was there on
Ah,
the paper. So
okay.
that gave me another chance to rewrite the whole film, but through
Ah,
images. And my DOP, Vikas, says he actually took those images from the paper and translated on the screen. So even after you do that, you
right.
people don't understand how it's going to turn out. And
Yes.
now people say, oh, I mean, now they say, oh, this is really
So
interesting.
that was
And
great. Yeah.
people are congratulating us. Even the sales agent who rejected us that time, they are congratulating us. Some of them are now want to come on board after all the success. But
Uh,
we are like, no, I mean, when we really needed support,
uh,
you guys didn't
you
do
were
it. And
not
now
there.
we are not gonna,
Yes.
yeah, now we're gonna
That's
just
the
not
that's
gonna
the
do
way
that.
of the world, They follow a person who is
Yeah.
successful. When the person becomes
So many
successful, they are, yeah.
even after we announced the Sundance selection, so many sales agent who had rejected us, saying the
Uh,
same thing. It's a
uh,
difficult film to
right,
for difficult film for the distribution. Uh,
right.
Now they wanted to see it again and reconsider it, but then we said no. People, we already have a sales agent and distribution
Yes.
on board who really believed in the film, and not because of the announcement and the awards. So
So
we have
I'm
people who
sure it
really
must be
loved the
making you
film.
feel really good to tell them that, "Okay, I told you so, you know? Uh,
And but for that matter, this used to happen during my short films as well. People
I
used to
guess.
reject
Yeah.
the film during the script
Yeah.
stage, and when
Okay.
they saw the film, and they used to say, oh, we didn't realize it's going to be turn out like this.
Uh,
So people really, those people who take decision to
uh,
give you finance, they don't have vision. Maybe that's what they
Perhaps
told
they're
me.
not
And that
creative.
is
Yeah, they focus on the
exactly.
numbers
And
rather than on the creative part of the entire process, no? Which is why they don't
exactly.
connect with something like this, something
And
unusual.
what happens
Right.
exactly. And what
Uh,
happens with me, I don't like to make films that look and sound similar. So
ah,
with every film, I
something
try to
new.
find a different vision for
Yeah.
the film. So if you see my previous short film, You for Usha, it
Ah,
looks completely different than this film. It
ah,
has camera movement, it has background
right,
music, so
right,
many other things. The color palette is so different. Or
right.
the film that I made before, Khidki, is a black and white film.
Ah,
Again, a different kind of visual. So
ah,
I want to do that. And sometimes when I'm like toying with the idea, that that idea keeps showing me the visuals,
right.
or the kind of style this story needs to have, the sound. and then I try to follow that, and that is why the vision for every film is so different. It's
Right.
like they are they, because then they know, they become confused. Okay, this is not how what he made before.
Yeah.
It's difficult for them also to have trust in that. So
They can't put
that,
you
I
in
mean,
one
but
frame, I mean, you don't have a
I
signature
like
style. You sort of keep experimenting with different things, isn't it?
exactly,
Right.
exactly,
So,
exactly.
okay, Rohan,
So, but I don't blame them.
so Rohan, one last question. Um, the name Cactus Pears. Why did you call it that? It's of course full
You
of
tell me what
humor,
is.
but I want you to talk about it.
But I would love to hear your thought also about it. First, I would love to know, because now you saw the film, I made the film, you experienced it. What is your thought? Then I share mine as well. But I'm interested to know yours.
Well, we can talk about that later, but let's talk about what you think about it and by the name, because I'm just there to give people insights into the way you have sort of put together your creativity.
I
So,
mean, one of the simple thing was, um, I mean, because most people have not seen the film now.
right,
So the cactus pears is a fruit
yeah,
that grows on cactus.
right,
And when we think about cactus, it
ah,
usually, we know that it grows in a rugged environment, harsh environment, but
right,
still, it has this fruit
ah,
which is thorny. But if you
ah,
clean the thorns and
ah,
open it,
sweet,
it is
succulent,
sweet
right,
and delicious
ah,
and hydrating. It has so many nutrients, and because of that, there are now so many even farmers in India who cultivate that
right,
plant and fruit, and they sell it to the pharma company. So that fruit, even though it's rare and grows in a rugged environment, has so many you know uh, good things about it. And I thought, that fruit actually represents these two men in the film, because these two men are also going through the pressure
right,
of society,
ah,
and still there are harsh
ah,
conditions around them, but they still are trying to navigate their life,
ah,
and trying to stay true to themselves. And when they two are together, they share so much tender moments, and the color of that fruit, which is completely red,
ah.
so I thought all of this really represents this, and that is why I thought it's an interesting
Yes,
name for
absolutely.
the fruit.
Very apt, I think, because it sort of focuses on the essence of what you're trying to say, and it sort of
Yeah.
slowly it unravels, You have the, like you said, the rugged atmosphere, and then you have the prickles also of the cactus, but also the inner succulent, the fruit, the sweet fruit. So yes, that
Uh,
certain.
this, this was But this was not the original name for the film initially, And during one of the first labs in India, I had my mentor was Umesh Kulkarni,
Okay.
and one day Umesh was just conducting one of the lectures, online lectures for all the participants, and then he just asked everyone, "What is that one image from your film that really represents, your film?"
Yeah.
And while everyone was started telling, I was just thinking, what is that? And when I was just thinking about it, the image of this fruit and cactus,
Ah.
the plant, that kept coming to my head, and I was like, why? And I was just thinking till my turn came,
Hmm.
and then I was thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, I mean, maybe this is the image from my film that represents the
Right.
whole story, and the themes and everything. And I just said that. And since then, I started thinking, I think the name of that fruit is the apt name for the film. But we only decided to have that name during the post production stage.
Right.
So it took me a really long time to decide, okay, yeah, this is the name, and film will go out into the
That's
world with this name, fine.
Yeah, that was a wonderful name. So thank you, Rohan. It was wonderful talking to
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you for giving us insights into your beautiful film. And we wish you the
Thank
very best in all your creative endeavors. We wish you a lot of films, your experiments. Keep making lots and lots of different films. We'd love to watch
I
them.
just want to I just want to tell audience through this that we are
Yeah.
working on Indian theatrical release of the film,
Uh,
and I just hope that when film releases, I really want the audience to support this film in the
I'm
cinemas,
sure they
because
will. I'm
now this
sure.
film gonna get that chance to come to the cinemas. It's now audience that needs to support and go to the cinemas and watch the film, because we made the film for the theatrical experience, the images and the sound.
Right.
So I just hope that people go and watch and support this film, because that's when it will, change the things, because there are so many filmmakers who want to make their films, and when audience starts supporting, producers will know, okay,
Yes.
audience is going for this kind
Right.
of films, and that's when they will also start supporting. So I
I'm
just hope
sure
that
that will
audience
happen.
supports very
Wishing
well.
you the very best, Rohan. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.